Hello friends, thanks again for joining me on Mondays with Doc. Today I want to tell you a story. It's a Bible story and it's actually found in the books of Matthew, Mark, and Luke. But I want to read one verse from the same story in Matthew and then read the entire story from Mark. It's about a storm. It questions their faith. Matthew 8:24 says, "Then he came into the boat and his disciples followed him. Suddenly, a furious storm came up on the lake so that the waves swept over the boat." Mark 4:35 through 41 records the following. "That day when evening came, he said to his disciples, 'Let us go over to the other side,' leaving the crowd behind. They took him along just as he was in the boat. There were also other boats with him. A furious squall or storm came, and the waves broke over the boat so that it was nearly swamped or sunk. Jesus was in the stern, sleeping on a cushion. The disciples woke him and said to him, 'Teacher, don't you care if we drown?' He got up, rebuked the wind, and said to the waves, 'Quiet, be still.' Then the wind died down and it was completely calm. He said to his disciples, 'Why are you so afraid? Do you still have no faith?' They were terrified and asked each other, 'Who is this? Even the wind and the waves obey him.'" Watch this short visual of the story I just read.
One day, Jesus got into a boat with his disciples and said to them, "Let us go across to the other side of the lake." And as they were sailing, he fell asleep.
Where is your faith?
You know, men, ladies, some of you are in that boat right now. The COVID-19 has caught you, me. It has caught all of us off guard, and it is challenging our faith because it has produced a storm that none of us saw coming. It's causing tremendous amounts of stress on our relationships, especially with our families. Bills piling up. In some cases, that's causing stress. We can't even gather in our church buildings in many cases. And that's where we came to be energized and uplifted and spiritually challenged week after week after week. But now we can't even do that. I bet you won't miss church when this is over. You're asking and you're stressed on whether or not you may lose your home. Or maybe you may think you might lose your rental. Stress on your job. That is, if you still have a job. Stress when you drive. Worse than ever, watching people exercise their stress. Stress on trying to just stay busy. Stress thinking, when will this end? And then we've got fires. We're talking stress. In fact, your favorite commercial on television, whenever you have the time to watch TV, is Southwest Airlines. Want to get away? The answer is yes, but for two reasons we can't. Number one, we're in a storm. And number two, there are other boats that are sailing with us that are watching. So the question is, what will you do? Here's some helps. Our superintendent, Bret Allen, does these videos. They're fantastic. They're for pastors, they're for leaders, but he's just completed a series on leading in crisis. It will help you as it has helped me. At the end of the video, we will tell you today how and where you can go in case you want to watch these. Here's number two. Study the story that I just read to you from Matthew, Mark, and Luke. Listen, it's us. It's not their story anymore. It's my story. It's your story. We are in the midst of a suddenly. And then we can extrapolate from this story principles that we can use to help us. Here's number one. The storm came suddenly or unexpected. They were alone. And some of you are desperately feeling alone, especially some of our older brothers and sisters. You're having challenges of just trying to deal with the technology, and it's frustrating. And you feel so much alone. You're scared. They became scared. You don't know what to do. They didn't know what to do. They forgot about the others that could be, maybe, probably are watching. But they remembered one thing. They remembered who was in the boat with them. And these videos that I try to put out on Mondays is to remind you of one thing. You are not alone. There is a God. And he says, I'll never leave you nor forsake you. There is a God that says you are the apple of his eye. Yes, you feel alone. Yes, you feel like God is on a vacation on a remote island somewhere. But I'm here to tell you and remind you, he loves you. And he's going to see you and me and the rest of us through this storm. See, here's the cool part. When the disciples experienced fear, the crowd wasn't there to see the fear. It was just seen by Jesus and themselves. You see, they were with the brothers. They were with the brothers, and they experienced the fear together, group fear together. So I challenge you men, and maybe you women that are watching, find you a spot. Find you a brother or sister that you have built relationship with prior to this storm. Get them on the phone. Meet them in a parking lot. Stay in your car. Stay distance from each other. Share your fear. And then be able together to cry out, Jesus, don't you care? Don't you care about what I'm going through right now? Your storm may not leave. You know, when the disciples, after Jesus calmed the storm, they still were in the water. So your storm may not completely leave. We're still going to have to deal with this pandemic. But the peace you and I need to guide us through this storm, as others maybe even are watching, I guarantee he'll give you a peace that surpasses all human understanding. That's his promise. It's written in his word. He'll calm the only storm that you and I can actually control. It's the one that's in here. And then the last thing I'll leave with you is worship. Worship God. Acts 16, verse 25, I believe, it says about midnight, Paul and Silas were praying and singing hymns. Now, this might offend some of you, but they weren't singing choruses. I'm just kidding. They were worshiping God. It said singing hymns, praying to God, and the other prisoners were listening to them. They were not only listening, but those that could, they were watching. I've said it before. I'm going to keep saying it. Somebody's watching you, and it's probably somebody you're not even expecting. And one day they might come up to you and say, I never would have made it if you had just given up. I learned a valuable lesson as a leader, as a youth pastor. Went on to an event. We went on an event, and the youth were just being kids. Went on another event, and the kids got to the youth leaders, and it was a little chaotic. But I noticed the trip still went well, and I came to this conclusion. It didn't matter whether the kids or the leaders were frustrated, flustered, or felt like the ship was going to sink. As long as I didn't lose my cool, everything was going to be all right. Dad, uncle, co-worker, mom, grandma, everyone's watching you. You're the key figure at the helm of the ship. If you can spend time with Jesus, he'll give you what you need so that when others are drawing from you, they will get what they need. You see, the question is not, do you have faith? The question is, where is your faith? Now you know. What will you do? God bless you. I'm praying for you.